almost nothing fires me up more than when a mom starts talking to me about what's going on with her daughter and her daughter's cycles. And she tells me that she took her daughter to the doctor and the doctor said, well, let's just put her on the pill. That'll make things go away. And it's because I personally feel that the hormonal birth control pill is never a solution for any hormonal problems or physical problems a woman's body is going through. In fact, it's the opposite. What we're doing is we're saying to the symptoms that are telling us there's something wrong, we're quieting them, we're ignoring them, and then we're moving on instead of addressing and supporting the body when it's asking for help. If you're new here, I'm Rita Johnson. I'm the owner of Health and Hormones, and here you'll get things like period solutions, fatigue help, and gut healing. Let's dive in. Okay, so this truly does apply to any reproductive age, but I specifically want to talk about teenagers for a moment because the likelihood of teenagers having these really loud symptoms or really strong reactions to their hormonal shifts are more prevalent. And part of that is because their body is just learning how to experience those hormonal shifts. I heard this put really well by Dr. Sarah Hill, who does a bunch of research in female reproductive hormones. And she talked about how when we first start cycling, our body's getting used to operating under these surging hormonal conditions, right? So we have estrogen that goes up before ovulation, and the progesterone goes up after ovulation. And as these things are happening, you just imagine like a wave rushing over our whole body and telling our brain, we need to do this a little bit differently now, right? Before this time, our body was pretty stable. We weren't having these high levels of hormones rushing over us. And now things are starting to remodel. We need to figure out what this is, what's going on, how we can support our body through this. And in addition to that, we also then have a lot of the emotional instability in this time of being a middle schooler, being a high schooler, having friends that are going through these same things, these same emotional upheavals and swings. And then, of course, there's the opposite sex thrown in. And it can just be a very confusing, tumultuous time. That being said, it's also a time when, as we start cycling, we may notice things like acne flaring cyclically, or headaches happening around the menstrual cycle, or really painful periods. I worked with a girl one time who not only had really painful periods that would keep her home for several days, she would throw up and faint in that process as well. So this level of reactivity to what's going on with her body was not normal. But the only solution she got when she went to her doctor's office was to go on hormonal birth control, which is shutting down a system that's trying to just get chuggy. So what we need to do instead is listen to those symptoms. So, for example, if somebody was coming to me and they were noticing a lot of emotional swings prior to their period, we would talk not only about what's going on hormonally at that time, but what can we do to support some of those heavy shifts that are happening. Sometimes it can be adjustments to workouts. Sometimes it's adjustments to dietary, what they're consuming at that time, being sure that they're going to the bathroom regularly. We have to get rid of those hormones after our body has used them up. Otherwise, they continue to recycle in our body. We need to do things like support good sleep habits at this time. Again, middle school, high school, if they just happen to have a test or a sporting event, and these are all coinciding at the same time, this could be a perfect storm for a young girl not to feel well. And then other things, of course, if we're talking about really debilitating, painful cramps, that could be a sign of endometriosis and something that really needs to be treated by an endometriosis specialist. I recently heard an endosurgeon talking about the different types of lesions that he'll find when he's doing surgery. And with young girls, it's more common they have these endometriosis lesions that are very difficult to detect. And I do suspect that this is part of the reason why some people that excise endometriosis actually can't find them. They don't see them. And then when somebody else goes in who's been really trained with, for example, naprotechnology, they're able to find those and get rid of them, to excise them, which is a huge deal because they found that those less clearly marked. There's some that are like chocolate cysts versus these ones that are really faint. The faint ones actually tend to be thought of as a more active form of the disease of endometriosis and causing more pain than the chocolate cysts, which perhaps has some dead tissue and has been there so long that it's not as angry, if you will, during those hormonal shifts as some of those other types of endometriosis. And this is part of the reason why they don't notice the same amount of pain for different types of endometriosis. So, for example, it could be type 1 endometriosis, but have such severe debilitating pain, or they could have type 4 endo and have no pain at all. And the only symptom is perhaps infertility or something with their hormonal health. So there's a lot that when we have the eyes to see of what could these symptoms be leading us to, there's a lot that we can discover and find out unless we just mask those symptoms by taking something like hormonal birth control, which again is shutting down the system and isn't allowing us to get to the root cause of why the body's communicating there's something wrong. So with that, we just want to be able to listen. We want to be able to learn, and we obviously need an advocate in our corner that can help us through those conversations as well. We do not want to suppress their cycles. We want to help support them for long-term health and fertility. It's not just about protecting fertility right now. It's about protecting fertility in the future and health along with that. All right, ladies. So if you have a daughter with pain or, these strong PMS symptoms or things that are not normal, I think moms have a really good litmus test of this isn't something that you should be dealing with. Get answers. Do not ever settle for hormonal birth control. We really need to keep diving into what is her body telling us and how can we support it from here. If you feel lost and alone on this journey, I understand. Schedule a free discovery call with me, especially with these young girls. A lot of times we can get them moving forward in just a short discovery call. And anytime I can do that, I'm always happy to. So don't be afraid to reach out and let me know what's going on.